Ray Vincent Rossi with Explore Asheville.
John Beatty with the North Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association.
Jane Anderson, Asheville Independent Restaurant Association, AIR.
Madison Davis with Asheville Buncombe Regional Sports Commission.
Good morning, Jackson Tierney, Homestay Network.
Michelle with the Homestay Network.
And Michelle Smith with the Homestay Network.
Sharon Tabor, Black Mountain Swannanoa Chamber of Commerce.
All right, let's get started. Calls to order the Buncombe County Tourism Development Authority, the joint meeting of the public authority and nonprofit corporation. Now in session. First thing, the approval of minutes. Motion. Is there a form?
Yes.
So moved. Second. All in favor? Aye. John, you ready?
Sure.
Okay.
It's a pretty uneventful report since we don't have much to report. Due to lag time between when the sales occur and when we actually receive the revenues, July is usually the month where we don't show things like historic revenues. Just so everybody knows. So page one, you'll notice that there's no occupancy tax report yet. Next month we will have actual occupancy tax and then we will start reporting all of that. Expenditures to date though, we have $676,519, which is at 3.5% of budget. And then the net change in fund balance is the $676,137. Moving to page two, you'll see that all the 2019 is now in the prior year, and we don't have anything to report there yet for 2020. Page three is the monthly product development fund. We have a budget of $24,077,000, and we have spent $1.7 million for 7.4%. And at the bottom, you'll notice that there are still current product development funds amount available of $196,000. Page four is the balance sheet, which gives you a snapshot of the revenues, or sorry, not revenues, assets, liabilities, and our fund balance. And then pages 5 through 8 are the trend information, and again, the monthly sales for 2019 have been moved to the prior year, so we don't have the 2020 information yet. We'll have it next month, and you'll start seeing the monthly comparisons, and then you can see how we are trending. And that's the same for page 6. Page 7 and 8 show the year-over-year comparisons. 2019 trended much better than previous years. And hopefully that'll be the case for 2020. If there's any questions?
On page 2, taking a look at the things that are going to the operating fund and the TPDF, it shows year over year that the operating fund increased 9% and the TPDF only increased 7%. And I'm looking at, looks like there's some issue possibly with October's number. Is that, I understand that right?
I would have to go look at that. I don't.
It's showing total down 5% for the TPDF and up 8% for the operating fund. Sure. Again, on page 2, showing the numbers for the operating fund and the product development fund. I'm looking at the change year over year. So the operating fund is 9% increase, and
John, did they receive that original version instead of the revision one?
Yeah, you're looking at the first one.
okay.
Use the one.
There was a mistake in the first distribution and the
Okay. Cancel it.
All right.
Good call. position is Director of Public Information and Community Engagement, and we're requesting a budget amendment of $76,978 to fund this position starting October 1st. Does anybody have questions or comments?
There's some rule against us advertising locally, but this is okay.
It's part of the administration, and I think our role as a public authority to dedicate a position to public information and, responding to requests like respond
I agree.
for it's, I would consider it the administrative, part of the administrative function. And we're still well under the cap of 10%.
Yes, I'm a little concerned that it's specifically geared towards covering some of the team process. I mean, I feel that we're spending a lot of money with BCTDA, and if we're having to take on extra responsibilities for that process, I kind of feel like we should use that confidently.
It's really kind of separate from the project scope. It's more, press releases, answering public information requests. I did 3 yesterday. It's kind of all of that groundwork. It's, it's helping answer media inquiries. But aside from TMF, the city and county governments have departments of people who are handling public information and community engagement. And it's, we've presented every year as part of the program of work, what we do for public engagement, but it's just been difficult with the growth and responsibilities with Jody and Pat and Marla and myself to continue to, not have a person who's responsible for these things. But I think it's very timely because of TMF, but TMF is just one part. Like I said, I answered 3 yesterday.
It will certainly free up more Stephanie's time to do the job that she used to do.
The annual meeting is kind of, another topic where we're preparing press releases and our reports and the website and, a lot of these things that are falling on staff who also are engaged in lots of other deadlines. And, to be honest with you, it's really just kind of creating around the clock weekend work for all of us.
Any other questions? Motion to approve?
No motion.
Second? Jeff? All in favor?
Thank you. We're preparing a detailed annual report that will be presented at the annual meeting next week. And at our September meeting, I'll present a detail at this meeting of destination performance and looking especially at sub-market performance that I'm sure you all have been tracking in the STAR reports also. But today, I just thought I'd touch on kind of some top line for the fiscal year. We ended prior fiscal year, as you know, with an 8.9% increase in occupancy tax revenue. Total room supply increased 3.1%. We're also, in September, will present more detail on room growth and room loss, because, we've also lost about almost 300 rooms have closed in this past fiscal year. So we posted a total increase in the number of hotel rooms sold of 4.8%. So we had an increase in occupancy of 1.6 to end the year at 73.6% for occupancy. We're really seeing a lot of softening is in rate and RevPAR. Average daily rate posted a very minimal increase of 1.7%. That compares to 2.4 the year before and 6.4 the year before that. RevPAR did a little better with an increase of 3.4% compared to 2.3% the prior year. So plan on next month kind of hearing more detail about that and having a discussion. As you know, the only insight we have about short-term vacation rental performance, which is also an important part of the market, is the AirDNA report, and that's kind of imperfect because it's a web scraping tool and only looks at Airbnb. We've looked at quite a number of alternatives and haven't found any yet that really meet our needs either. But Air DNA reported a 38% increase in the number of room nights booked to total a little over 1 million. So that compares to about 205 million room nights in the hotel sector. You also received a written TNIP update yesterday. That update was also distributed to the Community Leadership Council and to everyone who's requested updates through the link on the website, and that update is also posted on the website. We had a lot of public engagement recently. This month we had 3 public input workshops with about 130 attendees. The community sentiment survey was open from August 1st to the 23rd, August 1st to the 23rd. We did have that study was conducted with a representative sample of about 400 respondents who would be representative of Buncombe County residents and City of Asheville residents. But of course, everyone was invited to participate, and we had about 2,000 responses overall. And we also did a visitor sentiment survey that was distributed to our email list of about 115,000 people.
Just ask you a question, sorry.
Sure.
I didn't take statistics and I don't understand about surveying. So tell me, go do that 400 versus 2,000 again.
So if you want to kind of be able to say that on average this is what some group of people think, then you know theoretically you do a representative sample. So you give everyone in that population an equal opportunity to participate, and by pulling a random sample. And so we did that with, and 400 gives you a statistically viable representative sample. And so we wanted to be able to say of, you know, representative sample of residents of this community, what are their views? But we also wanted to give anybody who wanted an opportunity to provide their input and opportunity to participate. And so the survey was opened up and widely publicized for its inclusion, and so that generated about 1,600 additional responses.
So those, okay, so the 400 that were representative were pulled from the 2,000, or was
It
that
was
sort of a separate?
So in the first wave, for the first week or so, the survey was distributed to a panel of people who were pulled at random from a sample source. The survey was conducted by Strategic Marketing and Research. They are the people who've been, who have developed community sentiment surveys and have executed them in other places. And they are tabulating the results and working with PGAD on a presentation of them.
And so will we see the results of both the 400 and the
Yes,
600?
yeah, and so there'll be, so all of this phase 1, you know, also what's been happening at a very quick pace behind the scenes is a really in-depth look at a current situation analysis, looking at capacity and retail demand and revenue and all of those other things. And so the results of the community input and these other types of data analysis will be presented at a public forum that's being planned for the week of October 21st. So we envision that as a kind of a large venue and a big public event. So that's in the works, so stay tuned for that. And then, but Chris Kavanaugh and someone from the PGAD project team will also come to the September meeting and give you a more detailed report of the types of analyses that have, you know, been undertaken and the kinds of, you know, who they've met with and all of those things, plus a more detailed look at, we're now entering phase 2, you know, which is the discovery phase, and there are lots of meetings with city and county and other public entities and other stakeholder groups, you know, kind of looking at the project list. They'll be in September to be able to give you more detail around that. That same week that we had a CLC meeting, a steering committee meeting, 3 public input meetings, we had 2 public input meetings to get feedback from stakeholders in the River Arts District regarding the design of the wayfinding system expansion. So you approved funding to provide inter-district signage, and I think the community there is very excited about that. So similar to what we have in downtown, at the conclusion of the construction there, we'll be enhancing the sign system that is color coded to match the banners that are also in the district, and then you'll have some pedestrian signs that help you know like which way, and there'll be watershed information, Julie, that tells you how far it is to walk to places. I have to commend Pat for handling the logistics and lots of other details associated with all of that public engagement. Also that same week, I had the privilege of speaking at the final edition of the Buzz Breakfast series that's done by Leadership Asheville on the topic of connected community. The panel was moderated by Chancellor Nancy Cable, and I was really honored to be on the panel with the city manager and the county manager and Lakeisha McDay from the Dogwood Trust. So I'll just pass this around. This is the coverage that appeared in the Trust. Are there any questions about the dashboard or any of the other information?
One quick question on this dashboard, maybe. If I look at the sales department performance report and the marketing department performance report for July, the same as fiscal year to date, that's not the case with the destination performance report. It is in some instances, but not. So for example, hotel occupancy wouldn't be the same. July and fiscal year to date.
Yes, it should be.
That's right.
Yeah, it should be the same. Well, it's a month behind. It should be the same. The year-end occupancy was 73.6. So that so in the blue bar, 81.5 is June to last June.
Got it.
And the red is fiscal year to date, June, yeah.
I'm not behind.
Does that make sense?
Yes. And then the sales department and the marketing are not a month behind.
Right.
Your phone number, that's phone number, sure, 123.
Well, yes.
Fiscal year. Is it 30%?
Yes, we can know a lot more about that from Ms. Kinsey. Yeah, it's been awesome. Yeah, it's really great. Plus, I won't go into a lot of detail, but the pre-check lane is open now, which is a really awesome addition to the year report. Did you pre-check?
What is that? We can actually get certified there?
If you have pre-check, then there's a lane just for you. And in my experience, there aren't a lot of people using it.
Really? Did you fly from there?
Yeah, I went to Johnson's.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, they had an oval, temporary oval thing. Yeah, but Tina's here to give us an update on that. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, I can hear from.
Well, good morning, everybody. Well, Carly and I are going to be the main presenters this morning. We have a member of our group sales and services team with us today, so I want to make sure and once again acknowledge them. Connie Holidays, our senior sales manager. Beth McKinney, sales manager. Daniel Bradley and Ray Vincent Rossi, our group sales and services specialist. We have a couple team members who are not with us today. They're out on the road. Sean Boone is in Chicago, and Tina Porter is attending the Connect Trade event right now. And Catherine Dewey is on leave, but Brenda Taylor Redmond is filling in her place, working with us. So we have some really cool things to share with you today. And today we're going to be focusing a lot on the communications aspect of the department. We're going to start with talking about a new campaign that kind of straddles both fiscal years. It's called Elevate Your Experience, Meeting-Specific Campaign. We'll move to the AAA Destination Training, Explore Asheville Destination Training webinars, and how we've really made them pop. We've reformatted them, they're looking awesome. And lastly, I'm going to do a quick update on our brand refresh, the meeting brand refresh that was budgeted to take place in this fiscal year. So let me share just a little backstory and how we got to the Elevate Your Experience meeting campaign, which Carly will be talking about in a minute. If we recall, back in March, I shared some research very specific about meeting planners, specific perceptions about Asheville as a meeting destination. And that was gleaned from a report that we participated in from destination analysts. And largely, the findings were very favorable for us. While only about 10% of the planners had actually hosted a meeting here, 30% of the planners had a very favorable impression of Asheville as a meeting destination. They were positive, they felt positively, believing we would be a popular destination for their attendees. They believed that we would meet their measures of success, and they believed that hosting a meeting here would be financially favorable for them. But there was other segments. Among the planners who felt we would not meet their needs is a perception that our hotel product is not favorable. Could have something to do with the depth of product available, could have something to do with the level of product, but there wasn't that perception. That perception was in their minds that it was not favorable. And lastly, about a third of the planners who were polled in the study were neutral, or they had no opinion whatsoever. They weren't positive, but they weren't negative. So therein, we felt lied an opportunity for us to see if we could come up with some type of a campaign that could address some of these perceptions and informational needs. So we started with the research, identified the need, have developed the campaign, set the goals and objectives, and we're now in the implementation and the evaluation phase will come. And honestly, we're really pretty excited about this. So I would like to introduce Ms. Carly Adams. She is our Group Communication and Services Manager, and who does an awesome job for us, implementing and executing what really is a very robust, year-round communication effort. But Carly kind of spearheaded this project for the Elevate Your Experience campaign. So I'm going to let her share a little bit more about the details.
Thank you, Diana. Good morning, everyone. So as Diana introduced, when we began to develop this new meetings campaign, there were several core barriers related to perception that we needed to overcome. And we learned through that destination analyst research that some planners don't perceive our hotel product as favorable. We also have known for many years that many planners don't have a basic understanding about Asheville's accessibility. They aren't aware of what the Asheville Regional Airport offers. They may not even know we have an airport at all in our city. Our sales team has also relayed to us that when meeting one-on-one with clients at trade events, a lot of planners say, oh, I want to visit Asheville and take my vacation in your city. But those same planners don't have Asheville on their consideration list for meetings for their organization. And lastly, and this is a really big barrier for us, every hotel, every destination in the country are competing for meeting planners' attention. And that makes it really difficult to stand out in a crowd. So we really wanted to develop a new way to educate, shift these perceptions, and cut through the competition. So of course our objectives were to increase the number of meeting planners that would consider Asheville as a meeting destination. We also wanted to find a way to get in front of planners that weren't already in our database. We needed to educate to overcome those perception barriers, and to really inform them that top-level needs are met in Asheville. Asheville has the meeting space, has the amenities needed for meeting planners to have successful meetings. But we also wanted to communicate growth and investment, that hotel product, airlift, which are both key drivers for decision makers, have reached a new level in our city. And lastly, to overcome that really saturated market, we needed a compelling reason for the audience to take action and learn more about Asheville. So we worked with our local agency, Market Connections, to develop a new campaign. And that's when the Elevate Your Experience really took shape. We determined that the first steps were to create a direct mail piece, a landing page offering next steps for the planner, and also a webinar that a planner could use to learn more about Asheville in the comfort of their own office. So So Daniel has passed around the direct mail piece if you'd like to open the envelope and take a look. So this was the first aspect of the campaign, fairly complex die-cut mailer. And the decision we made was related to making a big first impression on a group of clients that weren't already contacts to us in our database. So this was sent to 4,900 people, about 75% of which were new contacts for us. It highlights Asheville's growth, that we'll have 10,000 hotel rooms by 2020, that the Asheville Regional Airport is the second or the fastest growing airport in the country, offering direct flights to an expanding list of cities, and other compelling destination facts that are relevant to the meeting planning process. So the call to action is to visit a landing page to take your next step and to take your meeting to a whole new level. So here is the landing page. We have the URL elevatemymeeting.com. We wanted this to be very simple, have the steps be very clear, with the first of which being learn more and view an on-demand webinar. That's the primary way they can learn more. They can also easily click to apply to our 48-hour meeting planner experience, one of our signature events for our team. You can download our meeting planner guide and get a detailed look at Asheville's meeting hotels, and lastly, contact our team directly. So more about this webinar, the star of the show. The cornerstone of the campaign is a 15-minute on-demand webinar viewable at any time. It was produced in-house. It features an introduction by Stephanie Brown, an interview with Tina Kinsey, you are the star of the show today, as well to talk about the Asheville Regional Airport, and then a presentation about Asheville's meeting resources led by Diana Pierce. So registration and contact information are required before the viewer watches the webinar. And we knew we needed a hook. Even 15 minutes in someone's busy schedule is a lot to take out to view a webinar. No one's dying to watch a webinar every day. So we needed a hook to get people to choose to register for our webinar. So at the conclusion, the viewer has the opportunity to select one of 4 gifts handcrafted in Asheville. So each registrant is contacted personally by our sales team. The gift is mailed the following week with a handwritten note from our sales managers as well. So we can't show you the whole 15-minute webinar, but we did want to show you some very abbreviated clips from it.
Greetings from Asheville, North Carolina. I'm Stephanie Brown, President and CEO of Explore Asheville Convention Visitors Bureau. Thank you for taking time to join us today to learn more about our mountain city. Asheville is well known as a top leisure destination, welcoming 11 million visitors each year. Lonely Planet named Asheville its #1 Best in the U.S. destination for 2017. Our goal today is to acquaint you with the many reasons why Asheville is also a great destination for meetings and events. Asheville is growing in all the ways that are most important to you.
Asheville Regional Airport is the fastest growing small hub airport in the country right now. And we're served by 6 airlines and have 19 nonstop destinations, including many international hubs right here in the country. The most recent additions to our route map include twice daily nonstop service to the Washington, D.C. area on United. We also have nonstop Dallas-Fort Worth on American, Philadelphia on American, and LaGuardia on American. We're excited to also welcome nonstop Detroit service on Delta.
Hi everyone. I'll be your guide today, sharing more about Asheville, North Carolina as a potential meeting destination for your group. Asheville will make a big impression on the people who matter most to you: your leadership, your attendees, and your vendors. Placing a meeting in Asheville will help you look really good.
So to continue engagement and driving more traffic to the webinar, we also sent a postcard mailer to that original group of 4,900 people that received the die-cut mailer. We also had quite a lot of opportunity in August for in-person promotion. This is our senior sales manager, Tina Porter, at the American Society of Association Executives annual meeting in Columbus. And then Connie Holliday, who's here today, presented at the Meeting Planners International Sunshine Summit last week in Florida. We partnered with Convention Planet to do an email campaign. They have a database of over 30,000 professional meeting planners, and this was a very successful driver to the webinar. We also dipped our toe a little in social media marketing and have Facebook and Instagram ads, and also created a new fly-in on the meeting planner pages of exploreasheville.com, directing people to the webinar, specifically meeting planners. We've had over 1,300 impressions in the last 4 weeks with a click-through rate of over 8%, which is very high click-through rate for fly-ins. So knowing that the competition is fierce for attention, our goal was 100 webinars as of September 1st, but actually I didn't check it this morning. As of yesterday, we have had 129 registers. We feel very excited about that. We've had some great feedback from planners who are kind enough to contact our sales team back. I love the concept. I wish all cities would do this. I'm sending this to my entire team as well. I just watched the webinar and I loved it. I'm so happy to have learned a little more about your destination and hope to have a program I can send your way soon. I enjoyed the webinar and definitely have Asheville top of mind when it comes to programs I'm responsible for. I'll reach out when the time comes. And we want to call on Connie, who was at the Meeting Planners International Sunshine Summit last week, who had an in-person testimonial
I did.
last week. Thank you.
So I was in a room about twice the size of this room, and it had 30 planners who represent hundreds and hundreds of meetings. But and then we had 40 destinations that were marketing themselves, so that was our competition. But I had this tall redhead comes busting through the room looking for Asheville. So she comes over and she says she received the mailer, she did the webinar, and she found that it was just genius and that she loved it. She was telling everybody, she was stopping people saying, did you see the webinar? You need to do that webinar. But now, great testimony from a client. She even forwarded the webinar to her client, the decision maker. So again, great testimony, and already she sent us a lead for a piece of business.
Thank you, Connie. So our landing page, elevatemymeeting.com, has received over 1,400 page views since the page was published at the end of June. The value of an individual user with a potential meeting business on the meeting planner pages of Explore Asheville is significant. One conversion could equal a lot of room nights, so we're very pleased about the success of the traffic to this page. So our future plans as we move through the next 9 months, we plan to do additional mailers to that group of 4,900 that received the original die cut, invite them to our 48-hour experience. This is a picture from our last 48-hour experience with a beach boy in July. We want to create a second webinar in-house and promote that to our registered viewers and beyond to give more information about planning a meeting in Asheville. And of course, we will evaluate and adjust the program as we measure success and continue to track those people who registered for the webinar and continue to engage them and follow up. Okay, thank you.
Got a couple of comments.
Sure.
Next time you do one on the airport, you listed the new destination, left off like Chicago, which
Right.
is 3 to 4 days. So if people don't know us, they should know all the destinations, especially those crazy ones. And another thing, I was at an event at the South Station. This was the observer, large group staying at the Omni, some type of food purveying group. And if you could have imagined what was going on there, it was incredible. They had a huge band. I think it's 50,000 they paid for the band, and they had they brought in food vendors from all over, plus local. And that particular venue for that group, I mean, there's like 600 of them. Unbelievable. And I didn't really capture something like that in your video. You know, if next time something like that is going on here, that venue or other venues, I mean, that, you know, take groups that, you know, they love to stay at the hotel, it's fabulous, but they love to go out and do certain things that can handle large groups like that. That is really special. I know our own company, we do the same thing. We go to different cities, but we want to experience the city in different ways, in different venues. And we've got a lot of those here in Asheville.
And we're looking at that type of focus in the second webinar, but we will continue to add, and we can pull these webinars and kind of update once we get different footage and better footage. So thank you.
You could Photoshop and finish the RS for him as well.
Thank you.
All right.
Looks so much better now.
has been hosting these online destination training programs for literally thousands of Southeast-based AAA agents. But we've been using a lot of the same things we did in 2010. It was a heavy PowerPoint, background voice, static images. That was until June of 2019, when we changed it up. So I charged the team, Daniel, and then Leanne Swift, who since left the CBD to go back to school, to really come up with a new and compelling format and plan as it related to overhauling this training program and making it a little bit more exciting and captivating. And we also wanted to capitalize on the fact that Daniel had an extensive video production and editing background. So everything that we're doing in videos for our department is being really done in-house, saving us tremendous dollars. So they did, and in June of 2019, a new kind of updated format capitalizing on video walkthroughs of our featured partners so that a AAA person could really get the vision of what the place looked like instead of static pictures. One that was more engaging and much more had a personal style to it. So Daniel, we're going to show you a few snippets of that. He's my techie guy too.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. We will introduce ourselves more officially. I'm Leanne Swim. If you've tuned into my webinars or visited me when I've gone to your offices, thank you, and we're happy to have you here. I'm a sales and service specialist here. I can answer questions that you have AAA related about Asheville, fans or road shows, and obviously webinars as well.
Hey gang, welcome to the Adventure Center of Asheville. We're about to show you a lot of awesome stuff that's available outdoors, but just a mile or so from downtown Asheville. We'll see you when you get here.
Some of the cool things that are going on at the Adventure Center of Asheville, particularly at the Treetops Adventure Park, is that we've opened up a kids area for kids as young as 4 years old. And so they can come in and climb on an obstacle course that's just barely off the ground at first, and then gets up to about 10 feet off the ground. It's a great place to experience and explore, and Adventure Center of Asheville is a great part of that. So please come and see us.
Hi, my name is Drew DeBane, and welcome to the all-new Hampton Inn & Suites Asheville-Biltmore area. Opened in September of 2018 and located just southwest of downtown Asheville, adjacent to the Asheville Outlets. Let's go take a look at the property. So our property features 114 modern guest rooms and spacious suites. Our property offers an indoor heated pool that's open daily, as well as a brand new spacious fitness center that features modern pre-core equipment, free weights, and fitness machines. Everything at Hampton Inn is always backed up by our 100% satisfaction guarantee for your members, meaning if they're not satisfied with their stay, we don't ask them to pay. So thank you for viewing our property, and please reach out if you ever have any questions.
Summer is the perfect time to enjoy all that Biltmore offers. Guests can experience our glorious gardens, savor the complimentary tastings of our award-winning wines, and explore our new exhibition, the Biltmore Gardens Railway. Summer is a great time to visit our 8,000-acre backyard. We have an abundance of opportunities to explore this area and really create some memories. Thank you for tuning in today and for sending your members to visit Biltmore, and we hope you join us again soon.
All right, y'all, so that concludes this webinar. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a lot of fun. Look forward to the next webinar. We'll send out information about the dates in the upcoming months. And until then, feel free to reach out to any of us via email or in the phone numbers provided. But until then, have a great day and enjoy the rest of the week.
So what have the results of this new project been? Now we utilize a program called GoToWebinar. So these are metrics that are contained within their program. But in February, when we did the webinar, average attentiveness was about 52%, about half the people. Average interest level was about 67%. When we moved to this new format, we saw a significant jump in the attentiveness, average attentiveness, and also in the average interest. So we do these about 3 times a year. We feature 3 partners per webinar, and it is basically offered as an industry partner opportunity. So thank you, Daniel. Okay, lastly, the brand refresh. As you remember back in March, we talked about the need, we've operated with the same set of icons, colors, etc. for about the last 7 years. And we felt that it was time to do kind of a comprehensive refresh of the meetings, collateral and site. So we're working with Miles Communications. At the present time, the contracts are now being signed. We expect the full rollout of all of the different elements and pieces to be in place, and it's pretty extensive. It operates everything from direct mails, using templates, coloration, everything. Will fully be rolled out by May of 2020, so we're in process. Yeah, RFP process, we opened it up. We had 3 interested companies come in, and between a panel of us, we reviewed kind of the criteria that we were looking at for who would be selected, some of it based on price, a lot based on expertise, and we arrived at unanimously that it was Miles who, I put the study up here because Miles is one of the organizations that specializes in the meetings industry. So we felt that along with pricing, was put them to be our company of choice.
What kind of direction are you giving as far as, we want to change the feel of the logo or send a different message?
Well, the first step that we're going to do is really be involved in some surveys, working with planners and planner perceptions. We're open, although we're happy overall with the whole look and feel. We are open to their expertise. After speaking with significant industry partners here in town, planners, coming up with kind of a larger vision on their part about where we are and where we need to go, given the nuances of how planners are communicating as we're moving in the
We're
future.
also looking for a lot more depth and integration of that
Right.
brand all the way through everything.
Everything,
Through,
top to down.
the glass mailers, what the gift is at the trade show.
What the trade show looks like, it's very comprehensive. Okay. Thank you, folks. I'll turn it over to Marla.
Good morning. Okay, I represent the entire 360 market. Just kidding. We did want to give you a recap though. This is an event that I mentioned at the July meeting. Go ahead and start this. It took place August 6th at the Banquet Center at the U.S. Cellular Center, and Matthew Rodriguez over there was kind enough to shoot this quick GoPro video, time-lapse of the room filling up. We had about 180 participants, which was really good. And you'll remember that one of the things that was really important for us as we added a new agency, particularly one from out of town, is that this expertise, which 360i has a great deal of, would be shared within our entire community, and not just for us. So this seminar that they presented was a day-long seminar. The 360i brought its entire team that services Asheville as it pertains to media and digital media and paid search. And there in the middle is Jared Belsky, who is the president of the organization. They felt this was really important. They had a lot of information to impart. They talked at the beginning just briefly about trends. The seminar contained a keynote by a representative from Google who was here. They talked about understanding your audiences, mobilizing and expanding your social content, a great deal of information around that, and then digital information and boosting and your paid and organic search presence. So at the end of this, we did a survey, and I took all of the comments and put them into a word cloud, and you can kind of see the overarching words that resonated. The Google speaker was a really big hit. People appreciated hearing about Google. And I will also say that all of these presentations are available on the AshevilleCBB.com site. So if you or any of your team members would like to access them, if you go to ashevillecbd.com and look at the past events, find the 360i marketing seminar, and you can pull these documents down. So they're there for others who were not able to attend. I thought I'd give you a quick snapshot of some of the ideas of what people were saying. We asked them in the survey what their most relevant takeaways were. We had quite a few who mentioned that they were just kind of absorbing the vast shift of media and marketing and how things have changed. People appreciated the tips on improving their web traffic and ways to assist in getting more interest in those sites. The free resources for website SEO, there was a lot of information that was imparted on how-tos and how you can do these things on your own. There was discussion about the importance of voice and Google Analytics, to use those for search optimization, and on the voice side, to begin to develop content that would be more responsive to the voice type queries you're hearing on Alexa, Siri, and the like. Somebody mentioned a good overview of digital advertising tactics in general. Google AdWords info was very relevant, mostly no information for me. There was a lot of information about how to maximize Google AdWords. Learning about new pieces of the Google search engine and how to update websites to use these features. And my favorite one was that somebody had commented, thoroughly enjoying learning the new stuff. And then thank you also, and thank you to the Explore Asheville team. So a lot of good comments too in the moment. You can see the ratings. How would you rate the information presented by 360i? Over 90% felt it was favorable. 4 or 5s was the high points of that. A much smaller amount thought it was average, and no one felt like it did not meet the expectations of their feelings. So, at any rate, we want to thank them for everything, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer it. Go back and tell your teams to look at the explashville.com site so they can get that information if they were not able to make it. I think it's important to note that a lot of these, this was broadly broadcast, so it was not all tourism partners. There were also nonprofits and businesses that were not aligned necessarily within tourism. They were all invited to attend, and so it was really good showing. We were pleased at how it went.
I attended and just was amazed at how good it was, and I was really impressed with the agency because they could have sent one person to do it or something, and they had the whole team. And it was really good.
Did you learn anything?
I did. Took lots of notes.
Great, thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you for having me here today. I also attended the 360i event, thought it was fantastic. We actually reached out afterwards because I'm on a planning committee for an airport marketing organization, and I thought, oh, we need to get them to speak at that event. They were stellar. Thank you. So I have put together a very brief presentation just to give you an update. I've been here before, and I wanted to update the data and show you where we are with air service at Asheville Regional Airport. And so I thought I would just start with a picture of our current route map. And this route map has 20 dots, which is the most we've ever had at ADL. Very exciting. And I do want to make the point that the majority of the dots are not one airline, that this is 6 airlines, and the growth that we have seen, especially in the last 2 years, has been with all of our legacy carriers and our ultra low cost carriers. So the wealth has been spread. It's exciting. I pulled our most recent data. This is public DOT data to show you our top 25 markets and to remind you what this means is that people who are flying in and out of our airport, their very specific origin or destination is captured. You know, where are they coming from or where are they eventually going to? And our top destinations are in Florida. I know that is surprising to you, but Fort Lauderdale and St. Petersburg, and then you can go down the list. Newark, New Jersey, Orlando, Punta Gorda, Chicago, Baltimore, Orlando, Denver is number 9, Tampa, etc. This goes on. The bolded, we had nonstop destinations at the time. This is year-end first quarter 2019, so a 12-month period ending in first quarter 2019. That's the most recent data that we have for this source. And we use this information when we advocate for flights. And so we may look at, you know, for instance, if you go down the list, you come to the first non-bolded city, and that's Boston. Well, we have 26 passengers per day going to or coming from Boston. And that's very interesting information. So we would dig into that and we would explore that and start to understand that story so that we can advocate and talk to airline planners, much like you're reaching out to meeting planners. The work you were talking about mimics a lot of what we do at the airport when we're talking to them. Yes?
Charlotte's not on there, like Atlanta, is that one of your destinations in Atlanta?
Yes.
But that doesn't count if you're just flying to it.
That's right. Yeah.
Can you tell us again what the bold means?
Well, at the time, for this period, we had nonstop destinations to the bolded cities. Okay?
And this is just the first 3 months of the year?
No, this is a 12-month, a rolling 12-month period ending first quarter 2019. We should have second quarter 2019 data pretty soon. Just as a reminder, these are our priorities when we're working on goals. I did not update the header, it looks like, but we are always looking at retention, growth, and engagement. And what that means is, number one, we want to retain existing service. That's very important. Once you have it, you want to keep it. And that involves a lot of work with our airline partners. We watch the routes and frequencies, and we want to maintain positive numbers of seats in the market for sale. We want to strategically grow those same things, seats in the market, frequency, and routes. And that really involves understanding our community, working with key partners like the Tourism Development Authority and the Explore Asheville CBD, businesses in the community to understand what routes make sense. And then, of course, engage with all the key stakeholders in our efforts. Some of the tactics that we use to stay in contact with our airline planners: we attend speed meetings. These are large conferences hosted throughout the year, and this is a meeting place for all airline planners and all airport planners. And we come together and have very specific times that we agree to meet and talk through key points. The meetings usually last 20 minutes. And so I do attend those events throughout the year. We attend smaller events where we have a more intimate opportunity to interact with airline planners. We request headquarter visits to do touch bases, routine touch points, sometimes weekly, most often monthly with the airline planners, just to understand how the routes are performing, and so we can share information and have those relationships. And then invitations to our area, very important. It's difficult to entice airline planners to make visits to places, you know, that they serve, because if you think about it, they're serving hundreds of places all over the country. And so we work really hard to try to get them to step foot into Western North Carolina. I will say that we have some great partners in this room who help make When we go to our meetings, we do bring lots of information about the area. We definitely get talking points from this group and try to just tell a little bit of the story of Western North Carolina, entice these folks so that they understand us more than just seeing us as a line of numbers on a spreadsheet. And then we, again, trying to get folks to come into our community. We did have a successful event in August this month. We hosted our very first FAM visit with airline planners. And we targeted our existing airline partners, and we were able to attract 5 professionals from 2 different airlines to come and spend a day with us, and then they extended and spent the weekend in the market. And the CBB did host a dinner for those folks, and we had really excellent feedback from them. So a few highlights with our growth. So this should say 11 because it's hard to keep up, but we had one more announcement a few weeks ago. But these, since 2018, these are new routes, and the one that we need to add is West Palm Beach came back. So that should be added under Allegiant. And these are all very exciting. As you know, some of them are seasonal, some of them are weekend only, but some of the highlights, Dallas we've worked on for a long, long time, and that is daily. It's doing very well. Philadelphia is also daily, doing very well. And another highlight, Washington, D.C. is twice daily and knocking it out of the park. A little bit of data for you. If you look, this is an indicator of how are we doing. We've added a lot of capacity in our market. In fact, over the summer, we had 50% more seats for sale than we did last summer. And that's significant. That's a tall lift for any business to try to absorb that kind of capacity in the marketplace. So if you look here, looking forward, August through October, this looks at capacity that's for sale right now. And we have 42% growth in seats for sale compared to the same period last year. The blue line is number of flights. And if the blue line is shorter than the green line, it means that the planes are bigger. Okay, if that makes sense. And then we compare ourselves to the growth happening at regional airports, Greenville, Spartanburg, Tri-Cities, and then Knoxville is the last group. And you can see everyone's growing, but we're really growing. So, you know, it's pretty significant. If you look at nonstop markets year over year, seat change, this is seats in the market. We're not looking at routes that are brand new that we don't have a comparison for. But you can see significant growth in seats. The only markets that we've seen a decline in seats compared to last year is, I gotta get my lines right here, Newark, and that's because we had a competitive situation with 2 airlines, and they've just been deciding kind of where their capacity fits, and so they had a really big competitive time frame where there were a lot of seats in the market, and that has leveled out. Punta Gorda is another one, and that's another kind of seasonal, just watching the market to see what happens there. And then Vero Beach, that's a niche market by Elite Airways, twice weekly, and they just changed their season a little bit, so we saw a decline there. And then just another snapshot of some regional comparisons. You can see by airline, and the airline codes are, if you look, the second column, American, Delta, Allegiant, United, Elite, and Spirit. And you can see, looking ahead, this is kind of the breakdown, August, September, October, big growth in terms of seats in the market. This slide shows how we're absorbing these new seats in the market. So load factor, that's how full the planes are, how many seats are sold. And this is our average load factor from year in March 2018, 83%. And we've dropped a little bit to 79%. However, if you think about the 50% increase in seats, that's a pretty successful story right there, especially when you look at the average load factor for all of the regional airports nearby. We're all hovering right around that same place, even when we have grown so much. So it's a success story at this point, but we are definitely watching, monitoring, working very hard to impact continued success. The growth trend is strong. Just a few reminders. We did hit a milestone at the end of 2018. We had 1 million passengers for the first time in the history of the airport. Very exciting. This is just kind of a snapshot of some of the excitement that we had. Some of our challenges, again, just always to remind you, there are finite airline resources, so I am competing with people, we are competing with airports across the country, across North America, for the same airplanes, the same resources with the airlines. The pilot shortage has not slowed down. That is something that is very real. The airline business growth plans change, so we have to stay abreast of that. There are space constraints at the airport. We're continuing to explore opportunities to address that. That's a long-term strategic planning opportunity. And then the planning staff at the airlines continually change, so we have to be out there meeting them, developing those relationships. Current actions, reaching out. We've got a small roundtable event in January we'll be attending. And then some bigger events in February and June. We'll continue to engage and really work on partnership. We're developing new route analyses, and we have an updated leakage study planned to be completed in the first half of 2020, and that just looks at our market and where people, how many air travelers are flying from Asheville and how many are leaking to other airports, and kind of digging into that and understanding that. One other point I wanted to let you guys know, I did not include that here because I wanted to keep it short, but we have built a captive portal tool at the airport, and we're gathering some high-level demographic information from air travelers who voluntarily give that to us if they want to utilize our fast premium Wi-Fi. And so we for the first time are understanding a lot of information about actual travelers, people who are traveling in and out of Asheville, and that includes things such as purpose of travel, zip code of residence, so we can run heat maps and look at where leisure travelers are coming from by state. We can go down to the zip code level, those kinds of things. And as of yesterday, we had 142,000 records in that database. So it's real data. So and we'll share that willingly. I think it could be helpful. Yes. Sure, yeah. So if any of you flew out this summer, you saw most likely that we are constrained in our parking facilities, even with the addition of the new parking garage. And so we are actively working on expanding parking across the street from the airport. We plan to build a shuttle lot that will be right in front of what was J&S Cafeteria. They're right across from the main entrance. And we will have close to 400 spaces added there, which will be very helpful. Any other questions?
What, is the runway done? Was that?
The runway is not completed. We are continuing to press forward with that. There were contractor issues. The hope is that we could commission that by the end of this year, but we don't have a specific date at this time.
I know the airlines keep cancellation on time. Does the airport track that? And how are we, with this increased capacity and all, how's that impacting cancellations? Or do you track that?
We do not, airports do not track on-time performance for the airlines. However, we do monitor passenger feedback, and our operations team is made aware if there are operational issues with aircraft and that kind of thing. And so far, yes, we do have some congestion on the ramp areas at times, but our local station managers work together to really make plans so that that's not an issue. All the time we have had some hiccups, with the growth, but it is being talked about very transparently and worked on daily. So far, we're managing that pretty well. Other questions?
Good morning, thank you for having me. Just to add compliments to Tina's pitch over here. I just did a direct flight to Denver 2 weeks ago, which was a great experience. It was $75 each way on Regent.
Wow.
2.5 hours. It was fantastic. We're also using rideshare more often too at the airport. I think for the break-even point is about 5 days, so it's $25 either way. You're not contributing to the parking challenges, and you get door-to-door service. So it's pretty fantastic. And now we're looking at Asheville as our go-to place when we look for flights, as opposed to an afterthought. When we first moved here, we were looking at Greenville and Charlotte, but it wasn't the hop in the car to go down there. So kudos. I want to start off with a little bit of a quick bio. My wife and I, JC, run a homestay at our Montford home, one bedroom. We've been doing that for about 4 or 5 years now. And us, like 99% of the homestay hosts, do not have a hospitality background. I think this is what you would call on-the-job training. So we're kind of making it up and figuring it out as we go along. But my background is in manufacturing. I was in jet engine manufacturing in New England for 30 plus years. My daughter decided to go to school in UNC Asheville. And as the story goes, it only takes a few visits before we decide that it's better to live here than up there. So we made the transition. Unfortunately, it was in our daughter's senior year of college, and she wasn't particularly happy about her parents joining her. But that was, she graduated 4 years ago, and she stayed here, and she's happy that we're here now. So I've been coming to the board meetings on and off, I guess, for almost 2 years now, and it's been a good experience, learning experience. My role today, in addition to being homestay host, is I lead up the homestay network. So we thought the timing was probably about right to tell a little bit about what our story is, how we engage our hosts and our community, talk about compliance, because what short-term rental discussion would be complete without talking about that. And of course, opening up to questions, because I'm sure the audience has plenty of them. So organizing as a group is nothing new. We are benchmarking 3 organizations across the United States. Portland in their host-to-host group, another one in New Orleans called Alliance for Neighborhood Prosperity, a fuzz on what they're all about. And then a very large group of almost 1,000 people in Colorado. So as of August 1st, there are 801 homestay permit holders within the city of Asheville, and that is the geographic area that we represent. We participate in rulemaking, which is really the reason that we got together initially. And there was a council meeting last night that we also participated in, and folks may have seen that on the news, but we've been working on changing a kitchen definition for, I think it's 596 days now. It looks like we can work on that a little longer. We also share best practices with one another. Again, this is a big on-the-job training experience, so it's really important for us to reach out to each other and find out what's working, what's not working. So that's a big part of what we are doing. And it's also really great to be partnering with local businesses. So for example, at our last month's membership meeting, we invited about 5 tour groups from Asheville in to give presentations on what they do, but each of them gave us a specific discount code that would be used just for homestay hosts. So I think we got a little refrigerator magnet from the Zoom, and the code is Airheads, and that's good through the end of the year. So it was great to see that. And I just got an email yesterday from French Broad Chocolates that's looking at creating a coupon just for homestay hosts to give to their guests to go there and get a free sample of the chocolate and some discounts. So we see this as a great opportunity not only to enhance the guest experience, but also to feed businesses to these local areas. And then last and certainly not least, we want to improve our standing in the community. How do we interact with our neighbors? What kind of conversations do we have over a beer about what's going on in Asheville, and how can we contribute positively to that dialogue? So we've not been alone here. There's lots of people, feet on the street, making this thing happen. These 9 people on our leadership team have been working for 14 months in strategizing and thinking deeply about how we change the conversation in Asheville, how we engage city officials in moving forward in a very positive direction. And you can see we are represented in all the district areas across the city. And we have 2 of our leadership team that are in the back of the room, Bob and Michelle. Thanks for coming. So the other thing we've done in the last couple of months is we have organized around committees. We have about 3 dozen volunteers that are spread throughout these organizations. The first one being advocacy, again, following the rules, not only here but in Raleigh. We're hearing a lot of rumblings about opening up the doors and preventing cities from enacting their own local laws. And quite frankly, that's pretty scary to us. And I'll touch on that a little bit later. We also have started monthly meetings. This is something that we've benchmarked our Portland folks. They just finished their 47th monthly meeting, just of various topics around insurance and taxes and horror stories and just a really interesting array. So we are taking a page out of their playbook and really offering a wide variety of topics for our membership. Communications, we just started a monthly newsletter. And then last and certainly not least, we have a team that's dedicated to marketing and branding, so we'll have a logo and all those other things that go along with that. So we also have done a fair amount of surveying of our organization. We put out 2 survey monkeys. We've received, for each of those, almost 400 responses, which represents about a 55% feedback rate. And the first survey that went out, we were just trying to get a sense of what's going on within our network. And no surprise, economics are the main driver for what's going on. 71% say that they need that money to take care of the mortgage. 42% said they would have to move out of their house and probably outside of the city if they did not get it. And one in 5 are on Social Security. So this is a huge economic engine for people here. And we're also very concerned about what our neighbors think about us. 93% said their neighbors are aware, and only 3% have said that they've had any problem, and those have been centered around parking, most specifically in the 5 Points and West Asheville areas. So the bottom line is that homestay income is changing people's lives. We had a lot of write-in sections of our survey in which people were able to tell their stories. So we have mothers that are spending more time with their children. We have people that are able to quit mundane jobs to spend more time in some creative effort as what they're doing here. Or they're able to even quit or downplay jobs while they create new businesses, new opportunities, knowing that they have this income coming in on a regular basis. So the rules in Asheville are pretty good. We are, the City Council has had a very challenging time figuring out the balance between all of the community stakeholders. But we all know that compliance has been a specific challenge. And there's one person on council that told us that before we consider really any changes to the rules, we really need to do a better job at compliance. So we took that to heart, and in this room on December 17th, we hosted a 4-hour workshop with 8 stakeholder groups in a very intensive, collaborative effort, totally around compliance. Some of the people that were also invited were the online platforms. So represented were Airbnb, Expedia, who owns HomeAway and VRBO, and also Booking.com. And we focused around how the city, how homestay hosts, how neighborhoods, et cetera, can work together using information technology or other techniques to improve compliance. We are also working with the city on the processes. The rules that were generated were about 4 or 5 years old, and they're already starting to be a little bit antiquated. So the city was very open to allow us to sit down with them and literally process map how to get a permit, how to go through the renewal process. And we came up with 26, when I say we, the city and us and others came up with 26 opportunities for improvement, and they're looking at those right now. The next phase of that, again, is enforcement. I'm not going to go into details on what's on this chart here, but this is a cutout of a Mountain Express article that came out on July 21, looking at the total number of short-term rentals within the city, what the compliance record is, etc. The records that I've been looking at indicate there are approximately 150 to 300 illegal short-term rentals within the city. We think that the quickest route to shutting those down is to engage the platforms. We coordinated and set up meetings with the city and the platforms one-on-one to talk about this. Platforms had indicated to us that they were willing to negotiate, but when they got in the room, they decided they were not going to. So the conversation is now changing in the city to look at fining platforms, as an example, $500 per day for each illegal listing. This happened in San Francisco 2 years ago. Their number was $1,000 a day. Airbnb and HomeAway were looking to take the city to court, realized that they were going to lose, and they settled. They now share data. Airbnb shut down 4,000 listings in a 48-hour period because they had to do it. This is something that we can do here. We are a growing market. We have creative ideas, some smart people, and we should be able to figure this out. So this will be the next phase. Now, people ask me, why are we interested in doing that? Well, again, we are homeowners, we live in our house. We think that that is the perfect solution for doing short-term rental within a city that has PD needs. We don't want our streets turning into vacant homes. We don't want whole house rentals in our neighborhoods. So to preserve our neighborhoods, we want to support the city in this endeavor. We're also business people, as we've already indicated from the previous chart. People live very closely to the line in Asheville. I keep on hearing the magic number is 3. And that's the number of jobs that people need or side hustles to make ends meet. Homestay is a very important side hustle for a lot of people. And the more illegal activity we have there erodes their profitability and puts them closer to that line. So we are all in, and we are looking forward to furthering that conversation with the city and any neighborhood group or entity in the city that wants to have it. So, in conclusion, we are very happy to be involved with Explore Asheville. Our meeting this month was also in this room. TDA and Explore Asheville staff walked through a lot of their presentations in terms of what are the capabilities of this organization, how they line up with our needs. After the meeting, they had an open house where we were able to walk into some of the conference rooms and talk in a little bit more detail with some of the staff. So we're looking forward to a long and fruitful engagement with this organization. And I'd love to take any questions that you might have.
Like San Francisco, what do we do to get Airbnb, force them to disclose their locations?
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know what the magic is, but I think the city is already working on it in terms of writing in an ordinance that says, the ordinance currently says $500 per day for hosts or anybody who is violating the law. But that needs to be amended to say each platform will be fined $500 per day per listing. And to start get some teeth into that to kind of force them to come back to the table. They've already proven it in other cities that they can do this. They just need the will and the desire to do it. And I think we can encourage them to do it. Joe, would you like to add to that? But,
I don't know if it's so much a matter of encouraging, is that, as Jackson said, they've been invited to the table. Jackson and I have both had conversations with them about what we need from them as platforms, and that we need them to sort of be that front line on helping our system, helping our homestay hosts be compliant, and helping just ensuring that people who are doing this in our city are complying with the ordinances. And they really don't view that as being their job. And just say that I don't think we care.
It's reducing income, so they certainly don't want to cooperate.
Right. But we are, as Jackson said, we are moving forward with essentially, I think, what San Francisco did, which is combining and looking at that.
any other questions or comments?
Yeah, at the same time, I think you mentioned this earlier, but a couple other cities have put in some very strict restrictions in North Carolina. This is that having the lobbyists for the realtors and have been actively pursuing legislation that will reduce actually eliminate any city's capability of putting stuff out there. So, I applaud what you guys are doing and thank you for your presentation, but we've got to, it's not about, they already tried multiple times this year, three, four times.
Well, it's not dead yet.
It's not dead yet, so something that impacts everybody.
Yeah, I think it will be a sad day if that occurs, and I don't know what, I mean, as our group, we are thinking about how to get in between that, but we're just one voice, so maybe there are some collective voices that we can work together to make that happen.
I mean, the city is working very, Esther and our lobbyists are working very hard on that. I mean, we would be the city in North Carolina by far most impacted by that, which I think is, maybe, well, it's, it would open the door to, I think, the absolute destruction of most of our neighborhoods and would completely eliminate, almost completely eliminate long-term rentals in our city if that would happen. So, the stakes are really big for us, again, more so than other places. And if you have relationships with any of your legislators, particularly the Chucks, as I call them, Edwards and McGrady, I encourage you to pick up the phone and call them and ask them to continue to fight this bill.
Thank you.
Oh, Jackson, well, you can go ahead, but, if you look at the little pie chart that we get every month about the percentage of sales that are from each, I just want to plant this seed in everyone's mind that, when, if the legislation for TDA is opened up, in the wake of the TMIT process, anything that happens in the coming year. So, I'd like to plant the seed that we should probably be thinking about adding, at least one seat for them to stay on, and that's just becoming a big, becoming a big piece of the market here. My feeling is they should have a voice on this board, so.
I just want to shout out to Chip Craig, who represents vacation rentals in that category.
Yeah, of course. But homestays are different than vacation rentals, so, I mean, they're in the same category, but it's a different model. Me? Okay. So I'll start with what Jackson mentioned. There were some proposed changes to the homestay ordinance on our agenda last night, that I think we all thought were not gonna be problematic, and then we got there and they were problematic. So, we pulled it back. We did not end up taking a vote on those changes. We pulled it back. We're gonna bring it back to the Planning and Economic Development Committee and, try to go from there. So I don't really know where that's going, but we're not finished. 500 and how many ever days counting. So that's one thing. Hotel moratorium, we will have our first meeting on that, at Planning and Economic Development Committee tomorrow at 4 o'clock. And that, for people who can't come or, don't wanna come, those meetings are streamed on the city's YouTube video, so you can, video channel, so you can watch that. We'll be getting a presentation from the city attorney and, there's one other city staff person who will talk to us about some of the options, but the things that I think we'll be considering generally in terms of making a recommendation to council are, the geographic scope of that moratorium, the duration of the moratorium, there are a couple of other things that I can't remember. But we'll be talking about those tomorrow. And then on September 10th, which is our next council meeting, we will pass a resolution setting a public hearing for the moratorium, which will be at the second meeting in September. So the second meeting in September will be the public hearing, that will be the vote. So that is the meeting. If you want to tune in, if you want to come say anything, that will be the time to do that. And then I guess the last thing I'll say is, I believe also on September 10th, on our agenda will be, a discussion about, the districting
situation, and potentially taking the first step in taking action on that. Happy to answer any other questions.
Okay, so I just thought I'd give you an overview of what was given to us at our last meeting. We had a lot going on. I talked about strategic planning, but we had a reports given on the local industry expansion. I thought I'd just briefly tell you about 4 of them in 2019. Like LLC, new jobs of 15, capital investment 10.9 million, automotive parts manufacturer, county incentive was 0. Here's comments from the plant manager. So we continue to build on a great workforce culture and community that supports advanced manufacturing jobs in West North Carolina. That's Matthias Goetz, Asheville plant manager. Also, Fox Factory, there's a grand opening of the Fox Factory. If you know anything about mountain bikes or motocross or, cool hats, their new jobs of 65, capital investment was $1 million. And also this industry has a lot of engineering and R&D. County incentive was 0. Along with a very passionate mountain biking culture, we believe Asheville offers us the ability to tap into top-notch talent pool. And that's Larry Caroline, the CEO, comments from him. Also, East Fork Pottery, local industry expansion, new jobs of 75, capital investment of 2.5 million, and it's clay product manufacturing. County incentive was 0. The Madisons are on a mission to introduce artisanal ceramics to a new generation of consumers, and that's Closer Facet Company magazine. And then Hakon Industry, new jobs. This is in the western part of the county, 160 jobs, capital investment of 19.6 million, and they're HVAC manufacturer. County incentive, we did invest $192,000. Here, Hakon is excited to join the Asheville community. Look forward to many years here in Western North Carolina. That's Ryan Lee, the plant manager. So to give you an update on those 4 that was presented at the meeting. Other than that, it's pretty common county methods. Did that answer any questions?
Any questions? Questions from, comments in the back of the room there?
I had something real quick. Just remind everybody on Sunday, Sweet Dreams Full Plate starts. 45 hotels this year. It's a huge jump in growth. We're already at $22,000, and a testament to how our tentacles reach in the community. That's all from sponsors and their companies that are love the impact the industry has on their business. So we start October 17th is wrap up. I'd love to see all of you there at that event. It's going to be great. I think we're going to probably raise over $60,000 this year, which is probably just shy of 300,000 meals. So big deal, big difference we're making. So thank you.
Robert, could you do a sentence or two about what the program is?
Sure. So it started out with one hotel in the market, one of my hotels. And it's, if you forego stayover service, we're donating enough money to provide 7 meals. So, it started out as trying to get your room attendants home for the holidays quicker, and it's turned into something that allows us to do more deep cleans in our rooms because we're so busy year round and things like that, and gives our girls and our room attendants more time to get out on time, get back to their families. So it's been a great program, and it's raising a lot of money. It's moving to Raleigh next, so the same brand is moving to Raleigh, I think, in October.
And
So
the
we
money
hope
goes
it
to
grows beyond
Mana?
that. What's that?
The money goes to Mana?
Right to Mana, yes ma'am. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been, the kickoff was really such a great event, and you just see like how passionate the hotel staffs are, about being able to get back to the community in that way. And I think it's been really amazing how they've been able to attract sponsorship support, that's really added already, like $22,000 of impact straight to Mana. So it's really
Great
impressive.
program.
That I also just wanted to point out too that there are other non-participating hotels like the Omni that has a everybody that, by the time we meet again, our first big culinary event, Chow Chow, will have happened. It's, no time like the present to purchase your tickets, chowchowabl.com, and it really is gonna be a spectacular event. It's been really such a labor of love, by the community, the, culinary and baker community to band together as volunteers to put on this enormous event. And now it not only features, locally loved businesses and chefs, but now also some, other nationally recognized chefs like, Vivian Howard and Hosanna Bray and Ashley Christensen, and the list is really pretty spectacular. So, go online, look at a lot of the, smaller events are sold out, but People in the Park, will be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it's just gonna be a lot of fun. So, there's a level discount for Buncombe County residents, People in the Park is $75 on Sunday.
And if you're out of town for the weekend, the kickoff is at on Thursday.
Yes. Girl, there's still tickets for that? Great, awesome, yes, there's so many.
Can you make your comment?
Any business?
All right, we ready? So I'm back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm here to make a comment. Trying to seek your support again for bipartisan federal climate legislation. I've been here a number of months now and trying to bring you up to speed on various support for this bill. And recently there's been a number of reports that have been very upsetting, I would say, to say the least. I'm not sure if y'all are aware of what the IPCC is saying that we have to reduce our emissions by, but I think it's important for people to understand that. We now have 11 years by 2030 to reduce our emissions in half, and then by 2050 to 100%. And then we have to take carbon out of the atmosphere at that point. That's how dire our situation is. Imagine 11 years reducing our emissions in half. The United Nations recently published a report on Thursday with 100 experts from 52 countries saying that the window to address the threat is closing rapidly and threatening our food supply. Farmers are struggling to keep up with the social costs of carbon, the 3 floods that we had last year, with a lot more farms now closing down because it's no longer affordable for them to do business. Just imagine what that would do to our food supply. The U.S. Government Accountability Office, the GAO, reported recently that federal funding for disaster assistance is approaching $500 billion since 2005. They say that the federal flood and crop insurance programs were not designed to generate sufficient funds to fully cover all losses and expenses. Also, the cost to businesses is now more than $300 billion a year and expected to grow. Our businesses, our economy, our livelihoods are threatened by this. We need more citizens to speak up, like myself as an unpaid citizen lobbyist here every month speaking to you, asking that our leaders speak up as well and support bipartisan climate legislation. It is not a science problem, it is a human problem. And writing it off as a political problem is no longer an excuse. With support from 3,500 economists, 70 health organizations, 6 faith communities, U.S. Conference of Mayors, the IPCC pushing for a carbon price internationally, 6 largest banks and 8 largest energy companies, and 57 implementations of carbon pricing around the world, where we price the things we don't want in the world and we subsidize the things we do. Why are we not supporting this? So, the main reason why these groups are supporting this solution is not only because it would reduce our emissions to 90% by 2050, the strongest reduction in emissions out of any other bill legislated so far, but also because it's so easy to actually administrate. The costs are very low, at 6% the first year because the revenue is so low, and goes down to 1% within 6 years. That's extremely low. You simply assess a line item fee to 1,500 energy producers or those who are extracting out of the ground, funnel that back to the monthly dividend check through a trust fund, just like you do Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. It's really simple. That's why they support it. And I'm happy to say that last month we had 2 board members here that actually endorsed this bill, this legislation. That's a simple signature. It's not asking for money. It's just a simple signature of a form that takes a minute to fill out. I'm really happy to say that Chip Craig and Jim Muth were the ones who signed. So I'm asking that other leaders here consider, even in the audience, if you're a business owner, this is the only solution that will reduce our emissions to almost what we need to do. There's lots more to do, but returning the money back to the people that would help out the economy, would help out tourism, would help out your businesses. For you to sign as a business leader. The bill is Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act. EnergyInnovationAct.org is the website. And I thank you for listening to me every month and for allowing me to come and speak to you. I love what you guys are doing for this community. It's just time that we start to speak up more. We need to have a conversation. And if you'd like to meet with me to learn more, which is what Chip and Jim did last month, I'm more than willing to spend some time with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim and I met with her for about 15 minutes, and I'm a little slow, but it only took about 15 minutes for me to really feel like I understood the bill, and it made a lot of sense. I was worried it would be cumbersome as a small business owner to keep track of things like I have to do the occupancy tax. But this is a very simple solution. To me, it made a lot of sense.
Anyone else?
I did want to do one plug for the annual meeting next week, September 10th. On your calendar,